Good evening and welcome to Plain Talk. My name is Christopher Ram. Thank you for joining me on this Muslim religious holiday. And to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, we extend sincere greetings. As you would have seen from the face of the television, we're talking this evening with Mr. Gerald Perreira, who is the leader for the Organization for the Victory of the People, OVP, the party that contested the elections in 2015, and from time to time we see letters in the media under the name of Mr. Perreira. So let me welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chris, for having me on your program, and special good evening to all the viewers out there.
Now, you belong to the organization you're the leader of the Organization of Victory of the People. You made no impact in terms of numbers in the 2015 elections. Why do you think that is so?
Well, first of all, we know that we were not going to get any, particular large amount of votes. We know that, but we went into the electoral arena to get our message out, our politics, so people understand that there is a revolutionary alternative to the two dinosaurs that dominate the political scene in this country, or those who we refer to guard the garrison politics of the PPP and APNU.
APNU is a coalition.
That's right. Okay, I'll be more specific here because I don't know APNU. PNCR, the PNCR.
Yeah.
We did our work, we went into the villages and so, and when we listened to people wanted a change. And we didn't want to rain on anybody's parade. And we decided we were not going to contest at the presidential level, but at the regional level. And we asked people, we said, to give APNU EFC your presidential vote, but do not give them everything, don't put all your eggs in one basket, give them the vote at the top, and vote OVP. Because we knew that this was going to happen. We knew, because politics is a science, you have to study it. It's not, these ideas don't drop from the sky into your head. And we knew that what the coalition told the electorate, right, before the elections, we know that they couldn't keep their promises. We know that when they told the young people, youth, vote for jobs, we told the youths that they can't provide jobs for you, because the model of economic development that they're running with, that they're there to.
But Gerald, I'm getting, I know we just entered the program, I'm getting the impression that you're more against others than for something. I want, is that correct? And if not, please pursue your point.
No, we are opposed. This country, ever since Burnham died, this country has moved away more and more to the neoliberal model of development, where there is a...
And that's under both the
It started with Hoyt, when it was...
Greenwich,
yes, when they imposed what is called the Structural Adjustment Program.
Economic Recovery
Program.
Yes,
under the ERP. And it went along with, Jagel went along with it, and right down to Jag, the only present government goes with it.
But so you were talking about what you went to the people, no presidential candidate, and I think you were being honest there. The chances of getting...
Yeah, we know we could,
Yes. But why did the people reject your advice then to vote for you at the regional level?
Well, watch. Let me give you an example. We were given, and I'll say that again and over, and I make no apology. We were given, in the final count, 450 something votes, right? I think we did better than Bench Cup. We beat Bench Cup. We beat the UF and all of those places. We performed, if you look at it statistically best. We got the second highest votes in Buxton after APNU FC. At our meeting in Buxton, we had over 300 and something persons. And yet we were only given 45 votes in Buxton.
When you say given, are you questioning the legitimacy of the elections?
Well, I am not going to...
Is that responsible? If we start like your friend in the
I'm a
United
truth
States-
warrior.
Yeah.
I'm a truth warrior. I am
Trump-
not
Trump
in the business.
Trump says the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not in the business. Listen. We prefer to tell people the truth. This is different.
Where did the... So you're suggesting that the elections were rigged against you?
No. I'm not saying... I'm not going down for a number of
You
reasons.
said you
I'm
were
not-
given.
Yeah, I'm using the word given, and I leave it there, right? Because it was impossible for us. Okay, let me give you an example. The night when we left GCOM, when they were still counting votes, Melanie Marshall, the returning officer for Region 4, called me and said, Mr. Perreira, get your people down in the morning, we'll start to count again. That's at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Right? When we got there, we were told that there is no counting.
But you mentioned Buxton just now.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that because you had such large meetings, that those should have translated to votes?
No, I agree with you.
You're experienced enough to know the WPA 1992.
We know that.
Oh,
I don't
God.
believe that crowd, the
Is
crowd
a measure.
Tran measure. But I know that based on the work we did, and people came to us and said, we voted for OVP, how come OVP only had this? Now, I'm not saying that they could have been of
But
course
the
there
people could be
discrepancies
lying.
and things.
The people could be lying to you. Look, we've had. I mean, I said we. The WPA has had areas where we've got families. The WPA executive member or key person, the family number say 8, and they get 4 votes.
Okay. Mr. Ram, what was the role of Brian Hunt? What was the role of Brian Hunt, the U.S. Charge of Affairs, in the elections, the last elections in this country? As a diplomat, I wrote a letter on Brian Hunt that he overstepped his role as a diplomat in this country. Right? Why was Brian Hunt, the U.S. The Charge of Affairs, the British High Commissioner, as well as the Canadian High Commissioner, Nicole Cole or whatever, right? What was the role of these 3 persons representing the ABC countries?
You have an objection to that normally?
I have to. This
So,
is meant to be
international.
Yes. I didn't see the Indian High Commission or the Chinese or anybody else or the Brazilians. Why is it that America, Britain, I have a problem with...
I'm glad you raised that point. Glad you raised that point. We have the Minister of State in the Ministry of the Presidency recently announced some lawmakers and military officers will be visiting Guyana.
Yeah.
And he said it was a recognition of the confidence in this country. Now, United States is led by a racist,
Yeah.
a misogynist,
Yeah.
a bully,
Yeah.
a man who does not know to distinguish
Yeah.
lies from big lies.
Yeah.
What should we be-
And who would classify countries
Oh,
like
yeah.
Guyana as, you know what?
why do we have such a passion, a weakness for these countries?
Look, this government, as well as the one before it, they're all, let me be honest with you, they're scared of white people. They're scared of white people.
No, but why?
Why? It's part of the, Fanon dealt with that. Frantz Fanon dealt with it. And it's a problem with the Caribbean middle class leadership and so. We have a problem. They're not interested. I hear people talking about transformational, we need transformational leaders and all that. To transform what? These guys are not interested in carrying out radical social change to transform this plantation society that colonialism left it. They just want to manage it. They're contented with being managers.
You know, it's
satraps of the empire.
It's interesting because both of us, in our own different ways, have caused to be
They're
quite concerned.
servants of the imperialists.
Yes.
They're servants of the imperialism.
You were a admirer of Colonel Gaddafi.
Of course, Colonel Gaddafi was a great leader, a revolutionary leader.
Well,
There was no popular uprising in Libya. Libya was invaded.
Yeah, but when you say popular uprising, he was there for 42 years.
Yes.
He rose from the son of a
Yes.
nomad. I mean, but
But he
his
was a figurehead.
regime was characterized by some serious human rights abuses. Would you deny that?
Just a minute. 3 months before the invasion of Libya, the UN was going to give, Gaddafi was listed as the recipient of a human rights award. Yes, 3 months.
No, but that.
No,
I'm still getting into facts.
But-
His opponents, he treated them badly. You know the flight. He was involved. He was labeled as an international terrorist. as well.
no. Well, who?
But
Who? Mandela was labeled as an international terrorist too.
not. I don't think an international
No.
terrorist.
Mandela.
Domestic terrorist.
No,
in South Africa.
Yeah, but the ANC. Do
Yes.
you know that? Do you know that up to the time of Mandela's death, when Mandela died, he was still on the FBI and the CIA watch list. This came out recently in South Africa.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not arguing. I'm putting this to you.
Libya had nothing to do with Lockerbie.
That
The
Gaddafi-
Americans know that.
No, how you mean they had nothing?
No, it does not.
They had nothing to do with
No,
that attack
they
on
took
the
responsibility because it was a way they paid to get the sanctions lifted. But Libya always denied that they had anything to do with it. Listen to this. Listen to this.
I'm listening.
I did a lot of work on Lockerbie,
Yeah.
right? When at the time, when the Lockerbie incident happened, all the fingers were pointing at Iran. The fingers was pointing at Iran. Okay, this is the geopolitics. Then when the Gulf War started with America and Saddam Hussein, Iran, Saddam sent a large fleet of his aircraft to Iran, and Iran never returned the aircraft. Iran allowed the Americans, they turned the eye, and Syria even sent troops as part of the coalition, the Arab coalition, against Saddam Hussein.
But then it's
So
not-
they
I mean,
needed somebody to whip. They needed a whipping boy, and who was the best person to throw the Lockerbie thing on
The
Libya?
attack in Berlin, on the disco in Berlin.
But that was never what. But listen, the attack, the label disco. No, Chris, listen. The attack on the label discotheque was done. It has been proven by a right-wing Turkish group that carried out the attack.
All right.
This is there.
No. You know, the point is this. Look, we can like revolutionary leaders. I liked Maurice Bishop.
Yeah.
I worked for 4 years with the NGM on PRG.
Yeah.
But you have to accept and recognize the faults of these leaders.
Which leader? That's not the point.
But-
the point is.
No, but you're trying to
you've got
paint
to
this
be-
picture.
No,
I
no.
mean, and talk about his son, Saif.
Mhm.
He and how he abused the oil revenues of that country.
Does that? No. Listen to this. Libya had, at the time of the overthrow of the Libyan Jamahiriya, Libya was sitting on 150 tons of gold, 175 tons of silver.
Nobody's
Listen,
denying that.
no, Saikon, that is the Libyan Investment Authority. The Western powers and the Western corporate media has a way of personalizing things, right? So the Libyan people's money becomes Gaddafi's money, and the loyalist forces is called Gaddafi's troops. You see how the media shape your mindset. You see how they shape
My
it?
friend.
No, I'm not saying you, but
Oh,
you
I
see
see.
how they do it.
I
I'm not
see.
saying you. You see how they do it? Look at this. The term warlord is only applied to African leaders or heads of liberation
In
groups.
international circles,
Right,
because you know, in Jamaica
Yeah.
and in Trinidad, we would talk about warlords.
Yeah, but they don't refer. I mean,
Yeah. At an international.
yeah, they don't.
But why do you think? To what extent were the Americans responsible for the current mess that Libya has now found itself? And whether you think the Arab Spring
Yeah.
had any influence with the developments in
The
Libya?
Arab sting, as the brothers call it.
All right, whatever.
The thing is, listen to this. What started in Tunisia
Mhm.
when the young street vendor,
You go card man.
yeah, and there was a popular uprising in Tunisia, and Zainuddin Ben Ali lasted, in less than 2 weeks, he fled. The same thing happened in Egypt, where Mubarak, there was an uprising against Mubarak, and less than 21 days he went. Libya was bombed. Libya fought for almost 10 months against NATO, Qatari special forces, Al-Qaeda troops trained by Saudi Arabia, right? You saw somebody, I think it was Kisun, wrote the other day that in the paper, Saudi Arabia sponsored terrorism, is a big sponsor of terrorism. We know that the 3 big sponsors of terrorism is the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. You remember we had our own 9/11 when the Air Cubana plane was blown?
A long time ago.
Who facilitated that? Who helped facilitate the bombs
United
of those?
States.
Good.
Which is why, you know, you might have heard a debate. Andrew Cuomo said the other day that America was never great.
Yeah.
And the entire America came down on him. But I had to speak, I was speaking with an American friend this afternoon. And I said, when was America great? When they had slavery?
Good
When
point.
they had
Good
segregation?
question. Yeah. Jim
When,
Crow.
when they were Jim Crow?
Yeah.
When they were busy destabilizing countries around the world,
Correct.
killing
Yep.
elected leaders.
That's right.
When were they great?
That's right.
So I come back to this point about our laying out the red carpet.
Yeah.
This government laying out the red carpet.
Yeah.
These people should be told, go and fix your problems at home.
Yeah, but you see, this is the contradiction. The very people, right, who lay out the red carpet for these people, they're going to talk to you about independence and talk to you about emancipation. But emancipation is a process. Taking the chains off when the ancestors walked off the plantation, that was part of a long, ongoing process. We still, as Cartwright Davis, the great Caribbean historian and theologian, said, he said emancipation still coming. It's a process. So we still have to complete that struggle. That struggle still must be completed. But with this crop of leaders, these neo-colonial satraps that we have, they're contented with just being, you know, to manage us for the empire.
Well, you know, we have virtually ceded our sovereignty over our petroleum resources to an American company.
They've given it away. Yeah.
And we talk about sovereignty.
Yeah.
We talk about independence.
Yeah, they can't talk to me about no man. I would never sit anywhere and listen to them tell me about sovereignty independence. They don't know anything about it.
I don't know.
And they cannot invoke the ancestors and speak about the ancestors because they ain't doing anything right. They should take the ancestors' names out of their mouth. As I told you, they're scared of white people. Exxon open their mouth and they jump.
You know, and those are things that are more visible.
Yeah.
We can see, we
Not
can
only-
hear.
the only political entity in this country that is not scared of white people, and we chastise, we hit Brian Hunt, the British High Commissioner, Cameron, anybody. Go and read it, Modern Ghana, what I said about Cameron. That's why they hustled me when I transit in the airport, because the only entity, of course, I'm afraid of is the Creator who gave me life, nothing in flesh and blood.
So,
We're the only ones who are not afraid, and we hit the white people and tell them for what they are. White supremacy and control.
I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah.
We recently asked, I think it's for 35 million United States
Yes,
dollars
35.
from the World Bank.
Bank.
Now, some
You
of the
figures are right, yeah.
conditionalities
Yes.
that those people have imposed,
Yeah.
and you know, we have an issue, viewers. You get the Minister of Finance going and tell you, oh, we're getting $35 million, we're streamlining this,
Yes.
we're streamlining
Yes.
that. We're fixing the financial sector, we're fixing the social sector, we're fixing the petroleum sector, we're strengthening our human capacity by bringing foreigners to
Yeah.
work for our country. That's a contradiction.
Of course.
But some of these...
Peruvian welders.
Yes. Some of these conditionalities which we are accepting.
Correct.
First of all, we're not telling the nation about those conditionalities,
Yeah.
and we're accepting that we'll put millstones around the neck. Why isn't the OVP that claims to be so courageous,
Yeah.
why isn't it publicizing and attacking matters like those?
Good question. Now, that is why I think, I'm happy to be in this program, that you have opened up this program to the small party. I mentioned to an editor of a particular newspaper, I said, the time has come for you to open up your pages, right? The columns. Let the small parties make a contribution. They can submit, write into your column. You had the AFC and the APNU and them, you've given them a column before the elections. They're in government, and the Kaichur still have a column where they're writing, and the small parties are ignored. My letters, I salute this Kaichur News. Kaichur News carry our letters as well as the Stabroke. But the Ghana Chronicle is no different from the Ghana Chronicle under the PPP. They don't carry our letters. They don't carry it. Well, we do not have the financial, we have a lot of supporters and the human resources, but we don't have the financial resources, right? We are the only small party that have endless flyers out to educate the public. Look, that's the one on oil we have about when APNU AFC betrayed the people, right? Imagine a new reality, right? Politicians will say anything to get your vote. And when
of course, you're one of those politicians.
Well, let me tell you something. I like Fidel Castro. Fidel said, I'm not a politician. We made a revolution to get rid of the politicians. I'm a revolutionary. There's a qualitative difference. Meaning, the revolutionaries involved in political activity.
And movements.
And
movements rather than political
But
parties,
he doesn't
yes.
subscribe to that bourgeois concept of the professional politician, because politics is meant to be the activity of every citizen in the polity, in the national polity. But what has happened in the liberal democratic tradition, which we inherited from the British and so, is we go to the ballot box, give our vote to the professional politicians.
Our personal sovereignty.
Yes, and give away our personal sovereignty to them. And then when they turn round and treat us how they treat us, we make nice. Well, you've seen it, you've given it away. So we have to retake that. And that's why we consciously refer to ourselves as an organization rather than a party.
Mm-hmm.
Because I noticed APNU said in its column that they believe in giving power to the people. APNU believes in giving. Well, tell me something. How could you be a party and give power to the people? Political parties are not in the business to empower people. It's a contradiction. Political parties are there to manage the corridors. They keep the people out of the corridors of power.
Power belongs to the people.
It belongs to the people. Therefore, how
you
do
can't
we
give
get
me what is mine?
Exactly, but how do we get the people to exercise the power? How do we get them to?
Now, why? I'm glad you raised the question. Now you will have to answer it.
Yeah.
Why is it, with all the history, look, in this country, all the parties, all the governments,
Yeah.
in my view, since 1966, have failed this country. We would not have had the chaotic governance problems.
You can't say born, whatever.
No, but when it came to democracy, you know there are two serious plots. One was a great intellectual. He's a tremendous orator, but he had some serious.
Well, democracy is a contested term and concept. It's contested,
And you mentioned elections just now.
Yeah.
Bono was famous for those elections, or rather selections. Why is it we as a people have not learned that the traditional political system and the organizations called parties
Correct.
that they spawn have failed us as a country?
Yeah.
Why is that?
That getting back to, before I get to that, there's a global phenomenon. There's something that's going on globally. The support for political parties, right? There's a global trend, is down. People are finding new spaces, right? Social movements and so, to contest, right? Or to enter the corridors of power, to contest against the state. because the traditional political parties have failed. The only political parties doing good is the extreme right in Europe, right? The anti-immigrant party, the anti-Muslims, the anti-Asian, and the right, who every time you got the crisis, the capitalist crisis, and then you got to find scapegoats. So it's immigrants taking your jobs and what have you. But you're right. We make institutions, and certain institutions develop at a particular time in certain societies, and so we need to go beyond the political party as an instrument for social change. Is obsolete.
Yeah, but
so that's why after 52 years of independence in Guyana, if you look at Jamaica, you look at Nigeria, every country in Africa, we had the multi-party system. It's created chaos. In fact, Africa was more stable. The African continent was stable when you had the mass one party, like the Nkrumah's CPP, the party in Guinea and the Sekou and so the one-party state health was more stable.
Are you suggesting that Ghana should go to one-party?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the conditions.
Is it not
no,
because
I'm not
conditions then, and those very leaders,
yeah,
you Nkrumah, you know the independence movement,
yeah,
leaders, that they could not make the cut in the current environment?
Well, if they were alive today,
yes.
They would have had a uphill battle. They would have had a battle because we have to realize that when we were given independence, when those countries were given independence, what we call a fallacious independence or symbolic independence, your flag, your own anthem, and parliament and so, right? Nkrumah is only when he was overthrown and he went to Guinea-Conakry and he wrote the book Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism, where he started to understand. He started to analyze what went wrong and the insidious role of neocolonialism. Because while it was easy to see when you were a colony, you see the British flag, the Union Jack, and the British troops and so. But then when you get independence, those forces depart. But then you're seeing black faces. You have a black government, black faces. But the real power is behind. The neo-colonial state is manipulated from outside. And Nkrumah came to the realization that political independence is meaningless unless you had economic independence. And Burnham said it too.
Well, indeed.
Burnham realized that our political independence would have no substance unless you had economic independence. Unless we achieve economic independence.
And that was probably the ideology,
yeah,
of the entire Third World Movement.
Yeah.
You know,
well, when you start to pursue the path economic independence, you're not the rat of the imperialists.
Yes. So, why did they? You've obviously done a lot of reading.
Yeah.
Why did the non-aligned movement or the non-aligned countries,
yeah,
with very strong,
yeah,
Secretary General of Commonwealth,
yeah,
ComSec, why did we fail?
I know. Good question. You see, the non-aligned, the problem with the non-aligned movement, you remember after Bandung, the Bandung conference,
yes,
with people like Suharto, we had great leaders like Suharto, Tito, Nasser, that monument next to the Bank of Guyana.
Yeah.
Even the university students can't tell you who are those. That's the state we are in, right? But getting back to that, those men led us a movement, a struggle. But then later on, there were many countries in the non-aligned movement who were aligned to the United States or were fallen. We had contradictions, serious contradictions. Some countries were talking non-alignment, but at the UN level was voting, right, taking positions that were detrimental to the very aims and objectives of the non-aligned movement.
But
Egypt was one under Sadat. You had many other examples.
But wasn't
most of the francophone countries,
the evils of the CIA,
of course,
AFL-CIO,
yes,
those kinds of bodies, they
correct,
undermined.
Correct.
They undermined.
That's right. AFL-CIO, USAID. Well, there's a new thing that is happening here. I spoke about the insidious nature of neocolonialism. The Americans have a thing here, their sponsor called the Youth the YPSL, the Youth Leaders Initiative or something, where they identify a number of young people, young business people from more than a number of countries across South America and the Caribbean, and they send them on this training program to the United States. Now, unsuspecting persons, people will believe, oh, this is apolitical and non-ideological. No, it is sponsored by the U.S. State Department and USAID. What they're doing, they're training young people in neoliberal ideology.
Well,
yes,
I got
how to manage the country, how to manage our country and resources to the imperialists.
But there's another side to that. There's at the military level.
Yes,
You know, Raphael Trotman takes
Yeah.
pride in saying, "Oh, he had training in the U.S. military."
Yeah.
President
Yeah.
Granger also went to.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
Our-
a shame.
our,
It's a shame.
Our political leaders,
Yeah, misleaders.
have betrayed
Yeah,
the vision
yeah.
of Bonham and Jagan.
Yeah, say what you want about Burnham and Jagan, like them or not. No one can take away that they were patriots.
Never.
They can't take that away. And we had a special flyer about that with a meeting we held over the river. And the poster we had, Burnham and Jagan betrayed. This PPP leadership, this PPP as it is today, the leadership of the PPP, neoliberal, they're not working class, they're anti-working class, just like this government, anti-working class,
But-
anti-poor.
And Jagan had a lot of personal virtues, but Burnham, maybe because he died
Yeah,
prematurely,
yeah.
he did not swing, although it was said that he was thinking of going to the IMF and all these things.
No. When Burnham died, at the time when Burnham died, Burnham was going to Libya.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
but Jagan
Yes, and
came in, Jagan inherited
Mhm.
an economic recovery program that used to be called the Empty Rice Pot,
Yeah.
ERP,
Yes,
and he continued it,
yeah,
and the PPP continued it
That's right.
up to 2006.
correct, and it's continued right now.
How do you explain these contradictions in our kind of politics?
You know, listen, you know, Jesus said, you know, the Bible said, know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Be true to thyself. See, I don't believe that people just change like that. It's either two things. It's either you were never there
Yeah.
or it's opportunistic. Let me give you an example of crass opportunism or people who were never there. You remember when Burnham was alive, we were talking about the cultural aspect of the revolution. To wear short jack
Mm-hmm.
and what have you, and to decolonize
Comrade.
our case.
The
Yes,
comrade.
yeah, and not to, get rid of the suit and tie. They didn't put Burnham down in the grave properly. And those guys went back to the suit and tie. Did you see them?
Mm-hmm.
No, what was that about? You see my point? They were telling us that the suit and tie is part of the colonial. That was
Yeah.
the time under Burnham. And after Burnham died, they all went back to suit and tie. These guys got more suit and tie than the white people who introduced it.
You're a small party. You didn't get no electoral representation.
No.
We've had what's called third parties, given our politics.
Yeah.
And it's strange. PR, in fact,
Yeah.
gives more latitude
Yeah.
for smaller parties and give them some influence. Two of the more, maybe three powerful third parties: the United Force of the early 60s, the Working People's Alliance of the 80s,
Yeah.
and the AFC in the more recent beginning of this century. They all came, they flourished, they made all kinds of songs. You would have thought, you use the biblical thing, you would think the walls of Jericho
Yeah.
would fall down. They were making such songs with their bugles. What, in your view, is the explanation for the failure of third parties in Ghana's politics?
There are a number of reasons for that. The if you look at where the British went and implemented the system, it's always meant of just two parties. Same thing in Trinidad, PNP, JLP, and so on. They've always been. Where the third parties, the reason third parties fail is because very often the majority of parties, the third parties who come in the scene, expose the same ideology and policies like the two main parties. So there is no credible, no real alternative to the existing parties. I mean,
but at least in a proportional representation system,
yeah,
there's more room.
Yeah.
Admittedly, we have a serious defect.
yeah,
That is that you've got to be a party to contest elections.
yeah,
You know, I don't see any reason, Gerald, why, if someone is a prominent person
yeah,
who champions a cause, a Lincoln Lewis, for example,
yeah.
and wanted to go into Parliament as an independent candidate, I don't see why we shouldn't have that.
I agree.
Our constitution is deformed.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with you.
so you're right, but Trinidad has first past the post.
Yes.
Jamaica has first past the post. Barbados has first past the post. The UK has first past the post, which is why the Social Democrats, the Liberals, all these people have, they come on the scene, they flourish for a while, and they fail. Is there something inherently wrong about this idea of third parties that they much celebrated at an early stage, the AFC failed to recognize?
You know, the thing is, listen to this. See, there are those politicians, those people who go into politics and they treat it as like they stick around for a number of years. And then they say, well, I had to talk to my wife and my family and I call it a day. Right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
They don't go through. But there's a difference with the revolutionary. The revolutionary endures and endures. Right? And he could remain in opposition for the rest of his life if that's the price for telling the truth and being clean with the people. The reason I think why a lot of people don't support third parties is because I think we tend to underestimate the people. I don't think that the people really see sometimes what the third party is offering is anything of substantial, qualitatively different from the dominant parties other than personalities.
Well, why is it they don't? The UF,
Yeah.
the Stephen Campbell UF, the Peter DeGar UF,
Yeah.
and they came.
And then of course
got-
had the racial
no, but not only that, get into a coalition
Yeah.
and then gets miniaturized.
Yeah.
The WPA was a great movement.
Yeah.
It failed as a political entity.
Yeah.
Its survival relies entirely
Yeah.
on its being part of a coalition.
Yeah.
The Alliance for Change, then leader Kemraj Ramlatan,
Yeah.
said, if we go into anything, we're dead meat.
Yeah.
Yet the lure of power, or maybe in the case of the AFC,
Yeah.
that look, to get rid of this one, we must go into bed with the other. Is there some flawed psyche
It's
about
opportunism.
our third party people?
It's opportunism. Let me look what happened. You remember what happened to the protesters were shot at Linden?
Yes.
Now, I thought that one of the first things this government would have done when they came into office was to deal with those police officers who were there. Those men were promoted, and Mr. Ramjatan said they're professionals. So while we're going to commemorate, we commemorate the anniversary of the Linden martyrs, the Linden was shot. Those police officers are still on the job. And then you as minister said that they're professionals. See, people look at those things. Because if I was the minister or the president, they would have gone home. Justice would have been served.
So do you see any future.
No, it's not about, none of these guys want to transform anything. Even all of these parties, they all have one thing in common. They could call themselves this, whatever they're out. They all are committed to maintaining this neo-plantation arrangement. We haven't changed. It's a plantation society. They're all committed to managing it. I'll use a better word. To manage it.
Are you being
not
kind?
To dismantle it.
Are you being kind on some of those political hustlers?
I agree.
Now you're a man very strong in your language.
Yes.
I notice you're hesitant.
Political hustlers? Who?
Political hustlers and opportunists.
Yes, they are. They are. This is what I'm saying. You tell the people, you go to the people, right? And you tell the people that you're going to do this for them and you give them. See, listen to this. No one should sit in an office, no politician should sit down and decide what is good for the people. Getting back to the mechanisms, and we're talking about people's empowerment. We need to establish, you remember that we had it? There was a movement in the Caribbean, the New Beginning movement in Trinidad, that was influenced by C.L.R. James. They brought this concept of People's Assembly. Libya had that, the popular congresses where the people made decisions. Gaddafi was just a figure. We need assemblies of the people where the people at the base level, at the community level, must have a say in the things that impact their lives. You can't leave it to politicians to sit down, and once we allow the politicians to decide what is good for us, then take what you get. The people have to secure the authority. The people have to demand.
But how? People are no.
It's not going to come through the ballot box.
Yeah,
They'll call for democratic revolution.
I saw a very unfortunate choice of language by President Granger. He regards a strike as a confrontation. That's a perfectly legitimate constitutional right.
Yeah.
Since when industrial relations become a confrontation?
Correct. Yep. Well, you know that saying, you should make sure your brain is engaged before you put your mouth into gear.
I wouldn't be disrespectful. I think President Granger is a...
No, I'm not.
I feel, I mean, when he
No, some people you just talk off the cuff, you just say anything.
When he talked about the curse of his six sisters,
yeah.
I thought that was the most ridiculous statement to make.
Yes.
Rice, sugar, bauxite, timber, gold. These are things that carried our country for 400 years.
Yes. Yes.
Now, are we then? President Granger says, "I wouldn't get drunk with oil."
Yeah.
Well, you would have a more sophisticated word.
Yeah. Yeah. Intoxicated.
No, intoxicated. Yeah. Isn't that that's not something that one feels so comfortable with?
True.
Oil. You, in a letter responding to the Clive Thomas suggestion to a grouping at Buxton, supported the direct cash payment. How do you see it operating? And there are some people who are saying, look, instead of direct cash payment, why don't we try to fix health, fix housing, fix schools, fix road, fix access to education?
Yeah.
Because I just saw this World Bank report. Some 70% of the people in the rural communities are seriously poor.
Yeah.
We've got the sugar workers.
I read it. I saw it.
Now, why, and I think like Thomas talked about money for households, every household. Yeah. Are you in favor of giving money to every household?
Well, in principle, we support. You can give families, you can give household, you can transfer.
Every household?
Well,
even those with brimming with resources?
No.
So you believe in conditional cash transfers?
Yeah. To the poorest sectors of the society. But giving cash transfer doesn't take away that that doesn't mean that you're not going to invest in education and health. In Libya, education was free. Students got money, stipend. Healthcare was free. There were many hospitals. There were special hospitals.
We have free healthcare in this country, do you know? We do.
I'm talking about quality healthcare. right? And yet there was cash transfers in family. But you see, Libya was a partyless political, and there was no political parties in Libya. So you had a case of if you belong to a political party, you could compete in to say, well, okay, if we win, we will give more, right? It was made at the congresses of the people.
How do you see cash? Well, we don't have those things.
We'll have to put the mechanism. That's what we'll have to work out.
What kind of mechanism do you see? Knowing that our country, corruption is almost synonymous with the country. Party patronage is synonymous with political culture. How do you get into this direct cash transfers?
Well, we've got to
without those problems infecting the entire system.
Look, we're dealing with human beings. You're dealing with people. You'll find corruption, but we have to make sure that we keep it checked and minimize it.
I know it's easy to say that. I'm asking how you're going to do it.
You have to put, when I say the mechanisms in place, we have to look at the households. There are ways you could work out. There are ways we could work out, find out the households, look at poorer sections. It's a lot of work, but it'll take time.
But Gerald, do you know even the definition of a household is a controversial
I know.
topic?
That can be dealt with. But the thing is we will have to look. I don't pretend. I'm not a technical person, right? I'm a social scientist. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a technical person. But I know that we have people, we have the know-how, knowledgeable people and so, who can approach this for us, who can look at how we can do this.
But we got some knowledgeable people and we got corruption all the time.
Well, you got knowledge. That doesn't mean that because we have knowledgeable people, you're going to have corruption. I agree with you. But, the point is, there are those people, the people who, the minute they hear about some cash transfer to the poorer classes, people want to tell you what the poor is going to do with it. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's coming from the people who are far better off in the society, right? And it is the duty of the state. It is the duty of the state. It is the duty of the state and the government to have what is called a state-driven, state-led economic development rather than leaving it to the so-called private sector.
No.
But you got to find, the government has to find a way of, in a very meaningful way, to transfer money from the oil revenue to families. They're working families, people are working, the poor sectors, it can be done.
You know who this government calling to advise them on it?
Yeah.
The World Bank.
Yes.
And Commerce Secretary.
The World Bank that keeps you, that keeps you in what is called the debt trap.
Now,
or what from the late Beckford called in persistent poverty.
We've got this most lopsided contract in any country in the world. It's the only country where you give all these concessions after you've discovered oil. Not before.
No. That's your
we have massive amounts of pre-contract costs. We have given Exxon immunity from any taxation for the next 40, 50, 60 years.
Exxon is the government.
And do you think at this stage, with the contract we have, all these pre-contract costs, the negligible royalty, that we need to be cautious as we address this question of either unconditional, which is what Clive Thomas seemed to suggest, every household, or conditional cash transfers, which you're suggesting. Is it building people's hopes unduly at this stage? 2 years before Forest Oil, when you have massive deficits on your budget, you have massive social and infrastructural deficits. How do you deal with that? How does the OVP...
I agree with you here. In principle, we support it. In principle, but we are saying that, as I had pointed out in the letter, it's not going to work. You can't have it within this arrangement we have. this existing arrangement. This is a neo-colonial arrangement where the government, right? Where we have black faces, as Franz Fanon, we say black, in high places, because we got to realize this. You can have black faces in high places, but they don't have the power. Being in office and having power are two different things. I was in South Africa. I went to South Africa twice. The first time I went was in 2001. And Thabo Mbeki had taken over the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the World Conference Against Racism in Johannesburg. Yeah. And there was a massive demonstration that was preparing to march.
That was on the Kofi Annan.
Yeah, Kofi Annan. 100,000
who just
persons.
died, and we recognize.
Yeah, 100,000 persons. And Ahmed Ben Bella, who was the first president of Algeria, was there. You know what they were marching against? They were marching against there was no, still without lands, electricity, water. Today, the same thing, right? You have a black government in South Africa, right? But the economic power is in the hands of the whites. The Bears, the Russians, they still control the economy.
Is it a contradiction?
So they have no problem with that. The imperialists don't have a problem with that.
Well, are you suggesting that the much celebrated Nelson Mandela is part of that neoliberal or
Mandela went with it. He went with it. He went with it, and the ANC's paying the price it now. The ANC's paying the price, because what is sad, could you imagine the Democratic Alliance, a right-wing white supremacist party, that the leader, they removed the white leader because they're tactical, and they put a black South African to the party. They're the second largest political entity in South Africa after the ANC. Mm-hmm. And now you have the EFF led by Julius Malema that broke away
from the ANC.
Yes, because they're talking about economic freedom. They're just like us, or we like them.
Tell me something. Why has, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, I get the impression that your party, the Organization for the Victory of the People, has not spoken out on this oil contract.
Yeah, we have brought out.
So what's your position on it? What do you think?
It's a disgrace. It's a national disgrace. It should be be renegotiated. It's a national, the word contract, that sounds like it was just written by one party and just given to the other to sign.
But how do you?
It's outrageous.
I agree with you. But
just like how under Mr. Height we give away to Omai 95, but Omai carry the gold out to this country. The problem in this country, and Guyanese need to wake up, is foreign capital is rooting this country.
I don't say this to defend Omai, but Omai paid 5% royalties.
Yeah.
And it paid corporation tax.
Yeah.
Or it was subject to corporation tax. It never did.
Yeah.
How do you, in this neoliberal order, try to renegotiate a contract which has a stability clause that says these people are immune from the payment of taxes till time immemorial, time in the future, and if you try to force any change, they go to international arbitrators in London or in New York and say, no, government of Ghana, you can't do that.
Yeah, well, they're bullies. They're bullies. I'll come to that. They're bullies. You saw the case with Antigua with the casino thing, and the Americans refused. America breaks international law. Look what they did Antigua.
Well, they think they're international law.
Yeah. Well, the empire. The empire. Chavez, you know why Venezuela kicked them out? Why they were kicked out? Exxon. The other companies went along and paid, right? Now Exxon is a company that has good relations. They got the U.S. military to back them up. The U.S. military backs up in American capitalism globally, right? But coming back to that,
so how do we?
They cannot renegotiate because, as I said, they're satraps. They're satraps of the empire. But if you have, let's say you have an OVP government tomorrow, OVP government. We'll call in Exxon. We'll change it. You can't tell us. I'm not responsible for what the previous. If a new government comes into power, you can't tell me that I have to go along with what the previous governments did. No.
What do you think of Trotman, Greenwich, and President Granger agreeing to such a contract?
I see nothing. I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't see them as true patriots.
Is it
True patriots don't give away the national patrimony to corporate, to transit corporations. You don't sell out, give away a patrimony. That's not patriotic. That's not patriotism. Patriots jealously and zealously guard their resources.
But you know,
Barnum is turning in his grave. Barnum is turning.
You know,
And then these guys like to invoke Barnum name. Oh gosh.
you know, one of the great ironies is this government has called in the Commonwealth Secretariat and the World Bank again.
Yeah.
But do you know the 1986 petroleum agreement that allowed this sickness of a
Correct.
contract
Yeah. It's
What-
a sickness.
came from the Commonwealth Secretariat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it that we don't understand history, we don't read,
No.
we don't think, we don't care?
That's a good, yeah. You would expect better. But then again, you know, then again, it's always about, it's a struggle. It's basically a struggle between those who want, okay, let me start from here. Those who fight for truth, those who fight for truth, those who fight on the side of truth and justice against falsehood and oppression. And you have that. And this is a big struggle. This is a big struggle. This struggle for us, this is not just a battle that we wage on this plane alone, you know.
Let me ask you, Gerald. Lots of the criticisms of this contract have been exposed
Yeah.
for all its
Yeah.
sick veins,
Yeah.
and yet nothing seems to make any difference. Why?
Yep. The thing is, Chris, I've noticed from, you know, in the streets talking to people and so, right? People don't understand. The people don't know much about it, what's going on. And that is why we bring out the flyers and so on, the popular education to make people aware of what's going on, right? To try to sensitize them, raise their consciousness, let them see what's happening. Because there is this thing that the oil going to flow and we going to do good. But the oil is going to flow and we will still have power outages. And we are going to remain.
I hope people
UG
understand.
will be a mess.
I hope people understand the resource
UG will be a
course.
mess and it's not going anywhere. Why? Because the major parties in this country and the model of economic development that they're committed to is not aimed towards empowering our people economically. It's not.
Let me turn to a matter for which I find great satisfaction.
Look at Nigeria. Nigeria produced tremendous amount of gas and oil, and look at it.
Yep.
Look
yes.
at it. It's a mess. A neocolonial nightmare.
Let me bring you back home.
Yeah.
At the PNCR Congress,
Yeah.
a woman for the first time in the history, I'm not sure, was Winifred Gaskin ever chairperson of that party?
I think so.
Think so, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
When he Gaskin.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
I
might,
believe
yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Yeah.
She was a fantastic woman.
Yeah,
Now,
was a minister
what-
of education.
What do you think of a woman defending the prominent, powerful Attorney General and sitting chairman, Basil Williams,
You know,
and defeating Joseph Harmon, who some people call the shadow president,
the de facto
the
president.
de facto.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You know, this whole thing about a woman getting the chairmanship and all that, to me that's secondary. What is she bringing? I want to know.
But don't you see?
know-
No. I mean, yes, I think your question is right.
Yeah.
But isn't it good to see that glass ceiling?
Yes, of course. The gas
It's being
cylinder has
shattered.
been broken. Yes, yeah. But I was not surprised when Valda Lawrence won. I was not surprised.
Why is that? Beating two stalwarts like Basil Williams?
They're not. No, they. Valda Lawrence did a lot of work. Valda Lawrence is in the communities. She did a lot of work on the ground. People don't see. I don't. You know, Basil might have gone out and so, but people don't see Valdo's more on the ground than Harmon and Basil.
Do you see any change though? Because one of the first things she did, she pledged loyalty, I think,
Yeah.
to President Granger.
You know, I am not really, listen, I'm not really, I was a member of the PNC, right? I was in the Young Socialist Movement Central Executive. Jeffrey Thomas had just moved on and Robert Carvin became chairman. I was Secretary for Education on the Central Executive. And I was in the PNC, and I joined the PNC because I believed in what the PNC was committed to, its aims and objectives, the socialist objectives.
Why did you leave?
I left
one
after
minute,
Mr. Hoyt took over and made a complete swing to the right. I left that. So that's why we said OVP. OVP is the real PNC. Do not be, that's not Burnham PNC. That's Hoyt's PNC.
Mr. Gerald Perreira, it's been a pleasure speaking with you for the past hour. Thank you so much.
Same with you, Chris.
Operators and viewers,
Yeah.
thank you, good night, and I'll see you next week.